Hi, this is my solution to Paul McWhorter's Raspberry Pi Pico W lesson number 1. Which is just to flash the inbuilt LED on and off. I'm connected at the moment. I'm using Thorny and I'm connected to my Pico W. So here's the code, which is very similar to his. So if you just run it, there we have it. It just flashes the LED on and off. In the chat session of his lesson, I pointed out that I didn't think that this code would work if you were using an ordinary Pico without the Pico W. So we will unplug from the Pico W, plug into my ordinary Pico. There we have it. We will try and run the code. No, doesn't like it at all. Now that is because when they came up with Pico W, they decided that having the inbuilt LED connected to pin 25 was a bit of waste of a GPIO pin, so they decided to move it to the wireless chip. And then they had to give it a silly name because it wasn't a GPIO pin, which is why that works. So if you want to see how it would have been for the Pico, it's excuse me, it's totally similar, apart from you just use pin 25 instead of LED. So we'll see if we can run that. Yep, hurrah, hurrah, it works. But, big but, will this run on the Pico W? So we will unplug the Pico, we will find the Pico W, plug it in, press stop, and then we'll run it. Well, it hasn't given an error, but it isn't actually doing anything. So that is no good at all. So I thought there must be a way to find out what whether you're running it on a Pico or a Pico W. So I've gone into the terminal, and if you go import sys, and then you go help on sys, it gives you all sorts of wonderful information. Now we are connected to the Pico W at the moment, so where were we? Right, here we are. It tells you the version, the path, the thing, but if you notice implementation, it actually tells Raspberry Pi Pico W. That is obviously what we need to look at. So if we go, just print it out, print, or I don't need to print actually, implementation, there. But what is that? It doesn't look like a string to me. So if you go type sys, no, I need a bracket, type sys implementation, it's a tuple. Now if you want to examine that, it would be far better as a string. So you can put it as a string by going string of sys dot implementation. There. Comes out as a nice string. You can see the double quotes there. So I wrote another program which uses this, and what it does, it imports the pin, imports time, etc., and then from sys it imports implementation, and then all you're doing is you're checking to see whether you're running on a Raspberry Pico W, and if you are, you set that to true, else you set it to false, and then using a Pico is not using a Pico W. It makes the logic more simple. So here you just go, if using Pico W, you use the LED pin. If you're using an ordinary Pico, use 25. Now that ought to work. So we'll try running that. Hurrah! Hurrah! Haven't broken anything. Stop that. But does it work on a non-Pico W? Sorry, a Pico non-W. Oh, a Pico that doesn't have wireless. Right. We'll try running it again. Stop. Run. Oh, haven't plugged it in properly. That's better. Close that nonsense. Run. Great. It still works. Right, we'll turn that off. Now, when I was using the Raspberry Pi, my Raspberry Pi 4 in my case, I found something that was written by the Raspberry Pi Foundation that was called GPIO 0, which was a much simpler way of accessing the GPIO pins than always having to use rpi.gpio. And they have also written, I found out, they've written a Pico 0 library as well. So I thought that was worth having a look at. So in order to get it, it isn't implemented as default on Thonny. So if you go into Manage Packages, and then on here you go, you search for Pico 0. Hurrah! Pico 0, a beginner-friendly library for using common electronic components with the Raspberry Pi Pico. Now it just says close here because I've already got it installed on my Pico. But if you look over to the left, there it is, Pico 0. So if you haven't got it installed, it will give you an option to install, which you click, and then it will put it there. But I will just close this. Now if I go back to my terminal window, if I import Pico 0, there, then I go help Pico 0. Now remember, I'm running on my non-wireless Pico at the moment. So if you look at all the things they have here, all sorts of things you can do with your Pico 0. You could PMW LED, servo, switch, speaker, potentiometer, LEDs, temperature sensors, and if you try and use them, they are very, very much easier than trying to use the machine pin classes. And then there's a Pico temp sensor. Go down here. Now if you look here, whoops, what did I do there? There's Pico LED, digital LED pin 25. That definitely sounds like something I want to use. So I will give it a whirl, go on to my fourth program. All I've done is you import Pico 0 and then Pico LED. Oh, I forgot to say, if you want to see what methods you can have with your Pico 0, you go in the terminal window, you go dir Pico LED. That ought to do it. Whoops, no, dir Pico 0 dot Pico LED. Right. Right, it tells you all the things you can do, like off, on, toggle, whether it's lit or not, but blink. Blink is the one that I was interested in, so I thought I would write a program with blink. So here we are. If we look up here, all I do is Pico LED.blink. No idea what. I had no idea before I tried it what that would do. Run it. Hurrah! That seems to be blinking from on and off for 1 second. 1 second on, 1 second off. Then I thought, well, you can put something in there. I never read the documentation, which is why I experiment so much. If you put in 0.5, there, flashing every half second. Pretty damn good. Then I thought, well, surely if you put in 2 values, that would mean the on value and the off value. We'll try running that. Right, on for half, off for 1. Then I thought, well, surely you don't want to just lock up your program when you're doing. So we want to see whether, while you're running your program, whether it just sits and waits, or whether it sorry, I can't talk and type at the same time, or whether it just lets you get on with your life. So it's blinking. Run it again. Blinking, blinking, blinking. Right, so it sets the Pico to blink, and then it lets you get on with everything. So as you can see by the fact that it's output, am I still blinking? What else can you do with this? Right, n equals 6. Hopefully this will make it blink 6 times. Run that. It still comes up with a message before it finishes blinking. There, that's pretty good. It blinked 6 times and then it stopped. But what if you actually want it to wait until it's finished blinking before it goes on? You can go wait equals true. Now, according to me, that will wait until it's finished blinking. So I will run this and watch down here to see when the am I still blinking comes up. You run it. No message. No message. No message. It's still running. Still blinking. Still blinking. Aha! When it finished doing its blinking, it gave up the message. Now you can, it defaults to wait equals false, but you can actually put wait equals false there if you wish. And then it comes up with the same message. Right. One more thing to try. Will it work on the Pico W? Because it's pretty silly. This is a Pico W lesson. If it doesn't work, that's stupid. Right. Press stop to get it going again. Now, if down here you go, you look at help. No, before you do anything, you have to import import sys, because I've changed over. No, I don't need to import sys because I'm not looking at it. Right, sorry about that. You want to import Pico 0 because you've changed things over and it's lost everything. And then you go help Pico 0 and see what that says. Now if you look at this, it will say somewhere, right, that's right at the top, down here, where's Pico LED? Pico LED, Pico LED actually says it's pin LED. Now that's encouraging. So we will go into the program again and run it. And it works, hurrah! And it wasn't, the message came up straight away. So there we have it, much simpler way of flashing an LED, the inbuilt LED on and off. But of course it wouldn't have made a very good lesson for Paul because it would have only been about 2 seconds long. So